Hamish Balski spent 7 years, at the helm of sheep genetics at Mount Linton before moving into an equity partnership in South Otago. Hamish joins us now to talk, well, the Southern Dry, or not so much anymore, his opinion on pasture management and sheep genetics and where we can improve in New Zealand. Hamish, I understand you've just recently attended the Balclutha Ewe Fair. What's the general feeling amongst sheep farmers in South Otago, especially now it's rained?
Oh, there was a lot of relief. Some say sort of saved the sale, really. They averaged probably about $180, and real good ones went for around that $200 mark. So, and they all, a good sellout, really. So it was positive in the respect of how things have been going down here, and the hot weather, the dry weather, feel like a bit like Canterbury at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, we like to share it about a little bit of those temperatures. How do things look on the farm as far as stock condition, feed, etc.?
I would say there's probably a bottom third, which is more than usual. Probably usually there'd be a bottom 10%. Feed has really disappeared fast. It's genuinely browned off and growing nothing. So it's been a very tough last 6 weeks, and it's just come very early, and that's what's made it tough. So we haven't been able to finish a lot of our lambs. So we'll probably end up selling at least half of our lambs store, which, we're normally buying in store lambs and selling those on top of our own. So it certainly made a dent in our finances this year, but that's how it goes. Hamish,
you'll be familiar with the pasture management at Mount Linton, and obviously in recent news of Kerry Lewis having to shift off a lot of stock similar. And then, of course, where you are in South Otago, usually you don't really have to worry about things growing too much, but what's your learnings been probably in this year around sort of pasture management going forward?
What I've learned is we've gone into a bit of a different direction with our pasture species. We sow sort of 11 to 13 different species now. A lot of them are good in the dry, like your Bromes and your Coxfits and Timothys, etc. We now rotationally graze 90% of the year. So our ewes and lambs, after tailing, they go on a rotation, and it's growing us, it would be 25 to 30% more feed than if we set stocked, and it's also, we're getting a lot better recovery from our pastures in that regime. So that's probably saved us this year. If we'd set stocked and got short before Christmas, well, we'd have no feed now. So we've got feed. Now that we've got the rain, if you don't get too short, you do get a better recovery. So, and these pastures with plantains and chicories and things like that, they don't like set stocking. Sheep eat out good species and leave the poor ones. So, I think it's a learning curve, but we've been doing it now for 3 years, and I won't go back.
What about the genetics as far as livestock is concerned? Any findings over the last few months of dry, things you may have been heading towards but may rethink now for an improvement just in case this becomes a familiar summer? The direction of our sheep genetics we're very happy with. The Texel Romney, obviously I'm getting them from Mount Linton. I buy in ewe lamb replacements from a client who's been buying it from there, and we just put a terminal sire Suftex over them. From what we've been through, it reaffirms exactly what we need to be doing. And like, I have bought in some sheep, some ewes over the last few years, and it's cost me dearly. Some of the poorer ones that I thought I was getting a good deal at the time, it's actually cost me in ewe condition and lamb weights at weaning, etc. So quality genetics, the payment, the investment is a huge return. And I guess what's really helped this year is we've been killing down to 35 kilos, around that 37 average, and still killing around the 16 to 16 and a half. So we can kill at lighter weights and still get a good fat lamb.
Hamish, you're the Southern South Island Chair for Beef and Lamb New Zealand. What initiatives down south are you working on and things that you'll be advocating for this year?
One of our big events this year is a lady scientist from Australia coming out, Dr. Christine Jones, and I heard her 3 years ago. That's why we changed our system to rotational grazing and multi-species plants. I've got her back over this year, and we're having a big field day here, and what she covers off is basically going into what we call regenerative farming principles. And that helps us through droughts, helps us through wet periods, it helps us through farming, it helps us build carbon, helps us in the water cycle to grow more dry matter for every millimetre of water we receive. And our aim is 20 kilograms of dry matter per mill. Lucerne will do about 27, ryegrass will do about 12 or 13. And I've seen the payback of that already with what we're doing. So what I'd really like to see is some really good strategies about how to farm in these changing environments, not only climatically, but also listening to a lady, Rosie Bosworth, yesterday telling us how livestock, the aim is for them to be removed from the planet by 2050, and we've got some huge pressure coming against us, and with big budgets, marketing budgets. So as farming systems, we've got to get our environment, our greenhouse gases, carbon drawn down into our soils. We've got to get that right, and that story, I think, will be in huge demand globally at a huge premium. If we get it wrong, then we're up against a commodity and they'll blow us out of the water. So that's probably one of my big focuses, and that, in the end, if we get the environment right, I guess what Christine Jones, her principles that she teaches are adding to the bottom line as well. So we're winning in every area, I think.
Radio Live Rural Exchange.